I'm going to cover some basic navigation in the updated CS 3D viewing software. This is geared for the new user, beginning with version 3.10.38. Previous versions are going to look a little different, so if you're on a version previous to this one and want to learn basic navigation, you should visit the YouTube channel of Phil Lineberger, Carestream Dental Education, where you'll find great tutorials on earlier software geared towards new users. The link to Phil's channel will be in the description. This CBCT volume is a 6 cm by 6 cm field of view CBCT taken with the CS9600. CS metal artifact reduction was used, but you cannot see it applied in this CBCT. We'll get to that later. In the meantime, let's look at the overall layout of the software. Here you'll find the MPR tab, which is great for general review of the CBCT scan. Here is the curved slicing tab, which is where you'll go to plan implants. This is the bilateral tab, which is for bilateral review of the TMJ. And this is the review tab, which is used for reviewing captured images from the CBCT scan. In this demonstration, we will only use the MPR and curved slicing tabs. We are currently in the MPR tab. What you see right away are the axial, coronal, and sagittal workspaces. These are referred to as MPR views. MPR is shortened from multiplanar reconstruction. These views are the true 1:1 ratio radiographs making up the CBCT scan. You can also see the 3D reconstruction. This is a computer-generated model, and while there are some ways it can be used for clinical evaluation, it is subject to inaccuracy due to factors like dose and artifacts. On the left of the screen, you can see more boxes. The top box contains adjustments buttons. You have the MPR adjustments buttons, which impacts how you see the MPR views. You also have the 3D adjustments button, which impacts how you see the 3D reconstruction. And this is the mouse settings button, which controls what some of the mouse buttons do and allows you to reset the orientation of the MPR views. We'll get more into that later. This is the metal artifact reduction toggle button. Select this button and you're able to toggle back and forth between metal artifact reduction with and without. We'll talk more about this later too. We're not going to cover anything in the tools box just yet. Let's look at the basic navigation of the CBCT volume. In the upper right of each of the MPR workspaces, you're going to see a colored triangle. This is there to help understand orientation. For example, in the axial workspace, you're going to see a yellow triangle in the upper right. Any yellow dots or lines you see in the software correspond to exactly the position in the axial view. This is the same for the purple in the coronal workspace and green in the sagittal workspace. You can see all three colors on the 3D reconstruction. In each of the workspaces, the colored dots are movement handles. There are large dots, and directly adjacent to them are smaller dots. The large dots move the view laterally, either side to side or up and down. And the small dots allow you to change the angle. This is helpful when you want to look around a point of interest or structures. Let's use the tools to look at tooth number 10 in this scan. First, I'm going to click and hold the large yellow dot and move it down until I can see the crack on number 10 in the axial view. There it is. Then I'm going to move the large green dot until I can see the crack on number 10 in the sagittal view. At that point, I'm going to grab the large purple dot and I'm going to move that up to center it over the same tooth. At this point, all of the views are centered on number 10. Notice how the lines have changed on the 3D reconstruction, giving you another perspective to show where you're looking in the MPR views. I can now grab the small green dot and rotate it around to get a 360-degree view of the tooth and surrounding structures. There will be times when the movement handle gets moved to a point where you lose orientation. Let me show you. To reset the views back to 0, go to the mouse settings button in the adjustments box and click on the reset buttons. Deselect the mouse settings when done. Notice how much white scatter there is in the scan. Any non-biologic material other than composite is going to create these white bursting artifacts in the scan. If you have a CS8100 3D, CS8200 3D, or CS9600 and have metal artifact reduction and you have applied it to your scan, you're going to have the ability to do this next step. Go back to the adjustments box and click on the MAR FDK adjustments button. Now click on the toggle for MAR, and most of the artifact scatter will disappear. You can toggle back and forth to verify how the scan changed with MAR applied. Now let's go to the curved slicing tab. The views have changed a little in the curved slicing tab. Here, instead of an axial, coronal, and sagittal view, we have an axial, transaxial, and reconstructed pan views. Notice how the colors of the workspaces have changed as well. Instead of yellow, purple, and green, we have yellow for axial, blue for transaxial, and red for the reconstructed pan. The CS3D viewing software automatically traces the arch for the reconstructed pan. And though there will be times when you want to draw your own arch, we're not going to cover that in this video. Here we're going to learn how to place an implant. Before you begin this step, you're going to need to have implants saved in your implant library. There is a separate video available on managing your implant library. To place an implant, you're going to grab the large blue movement handle and move it over the area of interest. Then we're going to grab the small blue movement handle and we're going to change the angle to match the adjacent teeth. We'll continue to move that laterally until we have it centered over the area that the implant will be placed. At that point, we are going to go over to the Tools box and we're going to select the Activate Implant Placement Tool button. We're going to go to the transaxial view. We're going to click once at the crest where we want that implant to start from a crestal perspective. And then we're going to click once at the apex where we expect that implant to end. That's going to bring up this dialog box here that's going to give you a list of implants based on the length of the line that you drew, and it's only going to show you the favorites that you have saved in your implant library. So in this case, we'll select, maybe the longest and the fattest that'll fit in that spot, and we're going to click on OK. Now, if we want to manipulate this implant once it's been placed, we need to click on, in our horizontal bar, this arrow button. If we want to make that implant smaller, we can do that right over here in the implant selection box by clicking on the length button, and that'll move us to the next shortest implant. That is the basics of navigation using the CS3D viewing software, version 3.10.38. Check the Carestream Dental Institute and corresponding Carestream Dental Institute YouTube channel, Phil Leinberger, Carestream Dental Education YouTube channel, and Dan Allman, Carestream Dental Learning YouTube channel for more on how to use Carestream Dental software and more.